Hello and welcome everyone to episode 163 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derrick, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and freelance letterer, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm, of course, freelance letterer extraordinaire, Brandon Bovia. Yep, we're sticking with that. Ready to just talk about more One Piece. Like, Dressrosa is good, and it continues. You know, it's not as bonkers, I feel like, as last week, but, the story keeps moving.
That's the funny thing, isn't it? Where you say not as bonkers, and then I think of some of the visuals that happened during this section. It's like, no, it's still kind of bonkers. It's just that we're in a more typical kind of One Piece chaos, where just dozens of characters doing crazy things while hundreds of background characters do other things, and it's just pure chaos and all this stuff.
Absolutely.
It just implied to be happening at all times. It's just like, oh my god.
I think what I love about this, now that we're in this phase, we basically had like 45 chapters of like Luffy building a coalition, of like Luffy building an army, and now it's like, okay, you know, they might not all be listening to him. They might be all out for their own, but they're all working for the same goal, which is to take out Doflamingo.
I love the consistency of the last few sets where there's one bit from Usopp that just makes me wheeze with laughter.
Yep.
We've got a classic one. And actually, I've been loving the Usopp discussion. The way we record this, we're about 2 weeks ahead of where it gets out for everybody else. So they're still experiencing the Usopp discussion of him abandoning things, which leads to a lot of other interesting theories about like how Oda's handling Usopp and so forth. And I love that type of discussion. It makes you wish that you could be more in line with what people are reacting to, so I could respond more precisely with what they're reacting to. But no, we need time to edit these together
for sure.
Be ahead of the game. That being said, I love a lot of the theories that have come out about how Usopp acted, why he might act like that. Like everything from sort of elaborating on me talking about how there's no reason for him to stay because he forgot Robin, so all that. But it's also the key point of he knows he stood up to the world government with Luffy at Enos Lobby, but he wouldn't know why he did it because they were trying to rescue Robin. So why are they fighting at Enos Lobby? He doesn't know, just from some nebulous reason. So that makes him.
I love that, actually. Yeah, and that it's like, because, oh man, that's so good, because it isn't like explicitly said that like he forgot Robin, so and so kind of happened differently in his memories. So like it is kind of a really subtle way to express that like Usopp would be kind of a different person entirely, you know, if it were not for Robin. And I feel like that one goes to show just how scary of a devil fruit Sugar has, but also like how much the Straw Hat crew is like a family to each other, and how much that they like how much each other really plays like a key part of everybody's character development is like you can't forget a single crew member, you know, otherwise
they each push each other forward.
Yeah, you'll be an entirely different person if you magically forgot just even one of the other Straw Hats at some point. So that is a really, really great interpretation, I think.
Yeah. And then the other one that really stood out to me was someone mentioning that they had seen another theory where Usopp's battles have been more about gradually increasing his courage and the steps he takes, because, you know, with Syrup Village and by extension Arlong, it's first one is him having enough bravery to save his village, then enough bravery to help his friends, and then you get to Alabasta, again, help your friends, but in much more wide sense of breath. It wasn't helping them directly, but just still helping them. And then, of course, being able to stand up to your friends, to have the courage to do that with the whole stuff with Water 7. And then finally here, being able to stand up for just complete strangers. So it's
that is
gradually extending that courage. I love these theories about Usopp, and that I think that what just keeps making Usopp such a fascinating character.
There's a lot just under the surface with him, and I feel like it is often expressed in ways, and like I could understand why, like, yeah, maybe somebody, you know, isn't like a hugest fan of Usopp just based off of, if you're just looking at his actions and how he reacts to things. But like, if you take a second, and I feel that way about all the Straw Hats, really, is that they do tend to have just a little that's left unsaid, and that it makes it really, really ripe. And there's some more of that we're gonna get this year that I think will be fantastic. This is going to be ripe for some really good discussions.
I feel like I had to put it here because there's not really a great way to put it during the other Usopp stuff that we get this set. So it just, I wanted to get these theories out. So
yeah.
But I love the interaction there, and just appreciate everybody commenting in whatever form. So
the people in our comments are smart, and I appreciate that because they'll see things that we don't. So
oh yeah. It's great. So let's not waste any more time, though. We got 5 chapters to talk about, and let's begin with chapter 746, Stars. And yeah, we are expanding beyond just the Straw Hats. We've got Law. We've got Law.
Yeah, we have every cover of this set is a banger. They're all fun.
I like seeing beyond the Straw Hats because you at this point you're like, yep, another Straw Hat thing. It's cute, but you know there's sort of typical stuff that they do. But to see these other characters in this way is like, ooh, that's good stuff.
Yeah, and they're not even all with animals necessarily.
There's some animals, but yes, there is a few that are not quite as animal focused.
But this one with Law, you know, conspiring with a burly walrus. It's great. Yeah,
eating a raw fish. Why not?
Yep.
Oh gosh, but we get into it, and Doflamingo put up the bird cage, and blocks signals. And without anybody in the world at large realizing it, everybody here is just going to die out. So those around you will suddenly burst into motion and indiscriminately harm all in their vicinity, whether they be family or friend or those you're sworn to protect. So run and hide if you wish. You will find no safety within this cage. The terror of the birdcage will last for days if need be. And either everyone here dies or you bring about an end to the game yourselves. And this is a horrifying.
It is. I
think
this
is chaos incarnate.
Yeah. What I like about this, the more I think about it, is like, I think the birdcage says a lot about Doflamingo as a character and how he sees the nature of humanity. And I feel like we get a little bit of a taste of that in the set that I really, really love. But it really does feel like he's kind of, obviously, you know, he's using his string powers to like control everybody just completely indiscriminately. But I feel like he is also like, you know, like, no, this is sort of humanity's default state is to, you know, to kill each other and to distrust each other and to, you know, really kind of like letting sort of like your inner nature, you know, kind of like unleashed, basically.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is just a crazier version of the Joker's endgame in The Dark Knight.
Yes, which, very much so.
Considering the code name, I guess kind of works.
Fitting, yeah, very fitting, yeah.
It's wild to see just all these people just attack each other because of his powers, and how you never get much out of Fujitora during this set. You see him dealing with things, but he never really comments on it. He's just seeing much. I like how inscrutable it is. It's like, because you know he's not down for this at all.
Yep.
But he's very also black and white with a lot of things.
There's a scene later on about this that is just like peak Fujitora that I just love it. So we'll get more out of him later. For sure. But we go back underground, and the Smile Factory is at the surface now. The underground is revealed. A lot of the people who are there around the pirate ships are just basically like, oh my god, we're free, let's get out of here, let's go. Yes. Thank you, God Usopp.
And Kinemon is out of his Doflamingo outfit because, well, he was about to get attacked because he looked like Doflamingo.
Yes. Unfortunately, he's using that chance to leer at Rebecca. He doesn't know that she's 16, so it's not great. But
he just appreciates the fact that this foreign culture loves their breast bands.
And of course, course, we got the perving on the other side too. Bartolomeo's, he's like, oh, Miss Robin, make me your slave. I mean, wait, no, I got a question.
I love that. It's like, no, that sounds like a fanboy. It's like,
yeah. he just like me
member.
For real.
And then he's like, wait, the nose over there looks like the nose of Mr. Sniper King, who shot, like, he rattles off where he'd be famous from. It's like, no, his name's Usopp. Oh my God! And together with Miss Robin, it's the Enos Lobby heart shooting combo.
Yeah, and then I love Sabo calls him out, and I love that Hack is just like, this is the man who broke my wrist. This is just a great little background gag.
It's more wonderful stuff from Bartolomeo, but we also get the ones that were the Tontadas that were with Kinemon. They've successfully recovered the ones that got beaten down by Lao Ji when they were helping Kyros get away. So, they're all kind of reuniting to some degree.
Yeah, we're kind of picking up the pieces right now.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of pieces, a lot of people who were there for the King Riku's rampage and as well as the Royal Army now get it. It's like, oh no, this is just like that night 10 years ago. And now we get it. It wasn't them. They were being controlled by Doflamingo this entire time. Oh no.
Yep. I feel like, I don't remember if this is necessarily an element of this, but like, I do kind of like that the, like sort of the average people are aware now that like, oh no, this actually is all Doflamingo's fault, right? Like there's parts of it, like, Doflamingo is kind of, he's trying to rile people up, just like, you're all victims. Like, you're going to come after me, or are you going to, deliver swift judgment to the 12 fools who dared lash out at me? Like, he is, really just trying to play up the whole survival game aspect to it, which does kind of bring us into this next section here where we get some bounties, sort of.
Oh, kind of. The funny thing is that it's an interesting inverse where it's like, some people got hope. Those that were underfoot from Doflamingo got this hope that like, oh my God, he's stepping down from the warlords. We can finally get our country back. While others were like, no, Doflamingo, tell me it ain't true that you're not going to be our king anymore. Which was our first impression of Dressrosa. And now now everybody's on the same footing. It's like, no, this is what he's like. But yeah, you're right. We got some bounties. The true convicts of Dressrosa, according to him. And we have our 1 stars, which consist of Rebecca, Robin, Kinemon, Viola, and Frankie. Our 2 stars, which is Kyros and Zoro. Our 3 stars, Sabo, Luffy, Law, and King Riku. and these are the ones that are worth for each star. That's 100 million berries that they are worth, which means Luffy's actually he's actually
got a downgrade.
Yeah, he got a downgrade. He should be worth 400 million. So poor Luffy. So it's like, oh man, that's a fun element that we have, like sort of these bounties and just these regular people that might attack them at any time to get this. It's a fun expansion, and again gives me slight vibes of Skypiea.
You're right. I didn't think about it that way, but because it is kind of similar to sort of like the in-game Skypiea, where it's just kind of like, all right, you're all after me, come get some, where we have all of these different kind of alliances, all aiming after one person. But I guess the other handy thing about the scene is we're kind of getting the average person kind of caught up. You have people like, oh wait, King Riku's still alive. Like, wait, that's what's Sabo doing here? Chief of Staff for the Revolutionaries. Yeah,
it's a nice way of getting all that information out there. And Sabo's like, wait, even me? Like, you figured me out already? He's like, oh no. But this is the part that I just lost it. Oh, I laughed so hard. But it's because Usopp's like, oh, at least he doesn't know about me. But there's one man who's earned the full weight of my wrath, the very root of evil who plunged you all into this cruel game of death. Whoever takes him down earns 500 million berries. God, Usopp at 5 stars.
Yep. Yes, and then just that face from him and the Tontadas. They're just like, oh no.
And where are they at? Surrounded by all these people who was just like, God Usopp. And they're like, God or money? We're choosing money.
Money. Yep, of course. All of these people, they turned real quick from like, oh, you are our savior, to like, oh, we got to kill him. And I feel like it is now at this point, now that we have this bounty system in place, that the chaos truly just kicks off.
Oh, for sure. And in that amount of time, Sabo was like, okay, get him out of here. Let's get to the surface. Tata's protect him. let's go. But in the meantime, Kennymon separates from the group. It's because he finds out that a little access to the scrap heap, and he wants to find Kanjuro. So he's like, well, let's let the chips fall where they may. Down into the hole he goes. And that's the last we see of Kennymon during this section.
Yeah.
Like, he only gets these little bits, but I'm so curious about what the heck Kanjuro is all about.
Yeah, I know who Kanjuro is, and I know that we see him this arc. I remember almost nothing else. So I have no idea when that whole thing is coming back up, but it's just been this thing in the background running this whole time. Like, where's Kanjuro? We're kind of here for that too. It's just like, all right, when's it coming?
Yeah, it has to happen at some point.
I think. I'm pretty sure.
I love that you're dealing with what we both went through up until this point, where it's like I know the overall story of this arc. It's the details that I'm foggy on. So it's fun to have you foggy with those details.
Yep, for sure.
So, and if Doflamingo's just egging him on even further, it's like, don't hesitate. As each moment passes, more people are going to fall and more buildings are going to burn. So embrace those base instincts. And
yeah, this is like the Purge or something.
Very much is. And some people are considering like, okay, Doflamingo's only one man, so we could try to band together. It's like, no, he's not just one man. He has the full might of 2,000 in the Don Quixote family. And it's like, okay, so we can't fight him, but he didn't say we have to kill them, so maybe if we just apprehend them?
Yeah. And meanwhile, Frankie's just gone.
Yeah, Frankie was able to escape. So that's pretty cool. So Frankie's still out there, got away from his fight, and we'll have to see what he's up to. But yeah, it's just this sort of survival aspect where everybody's climbing up, getting to the surface, having their own... it's that matter of we got to get information to everybody again. And thank God for the the transponder snails.
Yes.
So we get a conversation between the Luffy's group and Robin's group, and basically, we all got kicked out of the palace, so we're on this plateau, but we got to get back up. And Luffy's me just like, hey, did you see Doflamingo just now? Man, he makes me mad. And that thing with Usopp, what a joke. And Rebecca's on the list too. I hope she's all right. And he's just rattling off all the stuff that's bothering him.
Yeah, Luffy sounds like an angry dad. He's just like, how dare he? Yeah. I like this too because he gets Rebecca on the line, and he's just kind of like, good timing, the soldier's right here. And then he's like, oh, where'd he go? He ran off apparently. But I really like this sweet conversation between the two of them, because Rebecca on the phone is just like, wait, Mr. Soldier, he's back to human, right? Like, what's he like? Tell me what he's like. And so like, it took me a second to clock this. But like, she knew that he turned back into a human, but like Luffy's the one who's just kind of like, what are you talking about? Like, that's your dad. He's the guy from the Coliseum. Like, she hadn't put it all quite together yet. Yeah,
she wouldn't know because she was too young, and when's the last she saw her father? How would she actually know that that great gladiator would be her father? So having that confirmed there, and just having those memories of what he was like as Tin Soldier is just like, yeah, like you feel her. Mm-hmm. You can feel it for her. He's like, hey, I don't know where he is now, but listen, don't cry yet. I'm not going to let him die. You stay safe. I'm sorry I couldn't give you that flame fruit you wanted, but in return, I'm going to crush Doflamingo. So just don't leave my crew. Stick with them. And I love that protection.
Luffy says that. Yeah. No, like, all right, you're right now. You're one of us. I'm going to do my part. You do yours. And my part right now is to crush Doflamingo. And of course, we have to have, Mr. Party Pooper Law, like, hey man, we wanted to leave Doflamingo alive so that he would clash with Kaido, but like, if you take down Doflamingo, Kaido's gonna he's gonna be pissed at us.
Yeah,
So,
he's not gonna be mad at Doflamingo because Doflamingo will get taken care of. So instead, he's gonna be mad at us. And yeah, that's a powerful emperor that we'll be up against. And he's like, nah, we can talk about the future later. Just look at this place. How could I stop now? He's just like, I can't let this happen. He just has that going on. And Law's just like, ugh.
yeah, like, of course. And I feel like knowing what you know about future story beats, I feel like, and really, this is just kind of a natural conclusion that we're gonna take on the emperors, right? We've already.
You established emperors. Luffy said his plan was to take down the emperors. It's gonna happen.
Exactly, all four. So and now you can kind of see the logical through line of why they might kind of get on Kaido's bad side a bit.
Yeah, it's not just
Which I like.
Luffy deciding like, okay, now it's time to take down the emperors. No, his actions definitely lead to that, which
Yep.
That certainly fits.
Definitely.
And that's when we get this little breakdown between with Fujitora. Like, okay, so we can't capture Doflamingo despite all of this. So all we can do is just subdue the rampaging ones as best we can and target the Pirate Alliance, and that's all we can do. It's like,
yeah. He's talking to Bastille here.
Bastille, yes.
I think what you can see, because there'll be more on this a little bit later, but like, and I guess that's the consequences of Fujitora's conversation with Doflamingo, where he was kind of like, well, yeah, just because of the way things are, like, we can't go after you. Like, we have to focus on Law and Straw Hat right now. Mm-hmm. Especially, again, just like his worldview is very black and white, very by the book, by the orders, and ultimately Doflamingo is a warlord, so he is currently untouchable.
Yeah, he wants to get rid of the warlords, but
yeah, he hates it. He doesn't like it, but like that's what the law says.
The law, yeah. So, time for Luffy to go after Doflamingo and get up to the top of Flower Hill, where the palace now resides. So he picks up everybody. He's like, okay, which route we taking? Direct one. He jumps off with Zoro and Law in tow. So
yeah, just grabbing him by the neck.
I love how Zoro's just, all right, sure. He's just used to this by now, and even Law's kind of just like, whatever.
Yeah.
And the great thing about Law is that he's still bound by the cuffs, so he doesn't have his powers.
That's a great part about this whole set. Like we get some great Law gags because of that. I do also like that now that sort of like the land itself has shifted. We kind of have a really nice focal point for the characters to get to. Like we have a big spot at the top of a hill now.
You notice we also have essentially Muscle Tower. Like it is, there are literally levels to this assault.
yeah, pretty much.
We've just got very video gamey up in here, so.
Yeah, I mean, we had the tournament arc. It's time to move on to more Dragon Ball stuff.
Of course, we do have an SBS, where the first one is, what's that tail-like thing growing out of the Tantata's butts? Tails.
Honestly, a good question. I didn't think about it.
They kind of look like paintbrushes, so it was odd, but I eventually got the idea. I was like, yeah, they're just tails. For them. And then apparently because of Film Z is a collaboration with the French company DuPont, we now have an official special lighter for Sanji, and that's the lighter he uses. So
that's pretty cool. Smoking is bad, kids.
Yeah.
But buy Sanji's lighter.
Yeah. You can light other things on fire, just not cigarettes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump over to chapter 747, Supreme Officer Pica. And this is pretty great. Our new one is Cubs really like Mihawk, who's very annoyed by them. But Perona's jealous.
Yes, it's very cute, and I love seeing Mihawk just kind of just.
It's nothing. We've never seen Mihawk like this.
Just displeased.
Mm-hmm. But all right, we get to the Coliseum. We start out with the Coliseum, and of course, everybody that was beneath it is just pouring out of there as the Marines are reporting.
Yeah, because it seems like that the shift in land rose the underground up, which holy crap.
As we see as time goes on, this country gets messed up.
It feels like even on a bigger scale, like even right where we're at right now is like way worse than what happened to Alabasta.
Yeah, like Alabasta's being outright destroyed, but this one's like ostensibly people still have to live here, and there's some massive changes to the entire layout of this country.
Yeah. And we saw what Doflamingo can do to the top of a building with the flick of his hand. So you can already imagine like how wide the level of destruction is going to get as things get more and more chaotic.
For sure. But we of course have a little bit of recap with the people that are pouring out of course it's like these are the people that must be the civilian soldiers, agents, and pirates who were turned into toys, and they're just celebrating the fact that they're out in the sun again. And hey, Maynard the Pursuer's back. Remember him? He was taken out taken out by Bartolomeo.
Yeah, I was like, who told you to infiltrate the Colosseum? I was just kind of like, wait, I thought those were his orders.
Yeah, it's interesting about that. It's like, well, I was able to see the whole thing unfold. If we round up Doflamingo, the entire world could be tipped on its head. And this is, again, the only thing we see of her. But I love this espionage stuff that Koala's investigating, where they see like pirate symbols, and she rips them off as like, oh, they look like pirate ships, but these are actually traders from the kingdom of big. I love this, big shots.
Yeah.
So nations all over the world are doing their dark business in this port, and she's getting evidence thanks to her little transponder camera.
Yes. And I feel like that's also a really good point here, where like that is also an aspect of why we have so many different like factions and powers all kind of coming together in Dressrosa, is because a lot of them were investigating like there's a lot of shenanigans happening here that are like this, might be connected to Dressrosa and Doflamingo in some way, but they don't know how. So it's cool to kind of see everybody just get kind of closer and closer to the truth.
Oh, for sure. And I like that Sabo provides the distraction, Koala does the espionage aspect. And Koala's just risen in like estimation as a character for me as time goes on. Like she just gets cooler and cooler.
She's really cool. She really, really is. What a glow up, too, from just like a poor slave girl.
Yeah, seriously. Oh boy, but unfortunately for Maynard, he's like, wait, why aren't we not going after Doflamingo in this situation? He can't be a warlord anymore. Now is the time that we arrest him. And all Fujitora says, and it's happened time and time again. And he's like, you've been in the Navy for a while, haven't you, Vice Admiral? So you're telling me these cries of anger have fallen on deaf ears? These ain't tears of sorrow. And he just goes around, that's pure rage. Does the world government think itself to be God? And
yeah.
Fujitora is definitely a bit broken up by this. He's like,
he is.
It's what a great new character to be introduced in this set.
Yeah, this dude,
arc.
Dude, Fujitora is the man. He really is. It is so cool seeing somebody this high up just get a front row seat basically to like all of our systems have failed people. Like just again, time and time again. Like, what are we even doing here?
He's kind of the Smoker of this arc in the same way if Smoker, because of Smoker's role in Alabasta. Except higher power so. And honestly, my favorite at this point, probably my favorite of the admirals.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, just cool.
Yeah, I do think. I mean, obviously, there's a lot to like about Kuzan. I feel like, especially now that he's not an admiral anymore.
Yeah,
really adds a layer of mystery to him. But like, we've seen, all of these different characters throughout the story, who are Marines who kind of have again like their own definition of justice and their own kind of value system of right and wrong. But like, I think seeing one like this, like Fujitora, who is an admiral, he's very, very high up, and he is seeing this. And when he says, I want to get rid of the Seven Warlord system, and he's seeing the, the chaos that is causing, the hurt that it is, like, doing to people and doing to countries, like, you sort of get the sense that, like, you don't know how he could do it, but you feel like if anybody could do it, it's him.
For sure.
Like, if anybody has the power to somehow make that change and live with the consequences, there's something there. And I really love that sort of like I don't know. It's so cool seeing him get worked up like this. He's just like, he has to stand by his sense of duty, but he also has a level of humanity, more so than a lot of Marine folks, let alone admirals.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he hates this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh gosh, but we go back to Flower Hill. And they're basically making their plans. It's like, okay, Law's group is after the Smile, right? So shouldn't we protect that factory? It's like, no, it's covered in sea prism stone. It's not going to open. And we have the keys right here. And they're broken. Why should we give the enemy hope? So, and they're kind of admonishing each other. Laoji's like, you're pathetic. You can't even protect a young girl. And, Treble's apologizing. It's like, I'm sorry about Sugar, but can you imagine her getting knocked out by some guy who can't even move his arms and legs? And then Diamante's like, it's like, who would have imagined that the number 2 revolutionary would be in the tournament and get the flame fruit? And that's when Laoji's is like, quit making excuses. It's a disgrace. G is for just grace.
And I do like, because we commented on this kind of way back when during Punk Hazard, where it was like, Doflamingo seems really chill, with the way that he, the way that he conducts himself around, the member of his crew and his family. And even now he's just like, yeah, it's in the past. Like, blaming you is not going to, won't make things turn back time, which is it's cool to see him that he's like kind of nonplussed about it, but it's also like, yeah, man, your whole plan just went up in smoke. But he's like, yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
At the very least, at least in terms of like, he's not going to blame his family for it, which I think is actually really cool.
Yeah, and he has a plan. It's like, okay, the Navy's not, because of my negotiations with Fujitora, the Navy's not going to come after us. But after we're done using him, we need him to disappear. Not going to be easy, but we need to do it. And that's when we get this small voice saying, if we are allowed to crush both the pirates and Navy, then I can handle this on my own. And that's when we get that's our first dialogue from Pica, who again has the strangest body type with how he looks.
He's wide.
And we also get his gimmick. It's an extremely high-pitched voice, despite the bulk of this man. You can see he has a mustache now. He is just manly incarnate, and his voice is. How would you like? I'd love to hear the dub of just the anime in general, like how they interpret like how squeaky it is.
Yeah, it's just high pitched. I think I don't remember both for the sub or the dub. Like, I think he still might be played by a man.
I'm sure it's still played by a man, but just they have to give him that really high voice.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I do love that the even the lettering has this. It's lowercase. It's got this nice kind of curvy, cutesy little font. Like, it's a great touch. And of course, we get the gimmick here where even the onlookers are just like, his voice is so high pitched. Well, it's funny because we think it's rhetorical. It's like, oh, he's gonna kill me if I laugh. We're just, but.
And yeah, Doflamingo just ignores it, goes on. It's like, oh, don't be hasty. Yep. You have to understand that this game is an election to determine the king. So I have put the question to the people of Dressrosa, the Rikus or the Don Quixotes. The people choose their king as is their natural right. All we need to do is flatten those who challenge us and watch as the rest wipe each other out. And Pica's like, this is just a waste of time. And that's when somebody's just like, just laughing. And I love this reaction. You get Pica's eyes, Doflamingo looking angry. First time us seeing Treble's eyes behind the sunglasses.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they are just like, what the heck are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, somebody else is like, I'm so sorry. He's new. He just wasn't prepared for. Nah, I'm going to bury you alive in stone. Baby 5 steps in and just shoots him with her Gatling leg. Nah, I had to do it. That way his family could at least have his body.
Jesus. And then we get some nice juicy dialogue from Doflamingo where he's like, I lost my mother when I was 8. I killed my father when I was 10. The officers in my service are family who have been with me through thick and thin. They are all I have, and I do not forgive those who laugh at my family. Is that understood? Which, we're getting a little more backstory.
Yeah, I am so curious about Doflamingo's backstory in this ragtag group that is serving as his family.
Yeah, and you really... what I love about this is, like, this is the part where things kind of clicked for me, where it feels like Doflamingo is almost, like, he's like an opposite of Luffy almost.
He is
like
we were talking about that with Blackbeard, but it's almost more so because he has a much more familial connection, that family, like, do not mess with my crew. And I don't know if Blackbeard is the same way, where he's do not mess with his crew. Blackbeard is an inverse of Luffy in terms of goals and just a sort of a darker take on him. Doflamingo is sort of Luffy's values, just inversed.
Yeah. It's like the same values, but like evil.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
As opposed to being different, like opposite values. It's a really interesting way to kind of have these, different major villains. And I feel like the family aspect, I feel like, is going to be a big thing moving forward, just in general, and how that applies to sort of all of these different, like, all these different characters and all these different pirate crews. But sort of like, you get the sense that almost like, it's the same way where if Doflamingo reacts the same way, although a bit more, violently, it's like, this is what would happen if somebody made fun of Shanks, or if somebody broke Luffy's hat. It's the same kind of, like, there's some lines that you don't cross.
Exactly.
And so the contrast here between how kind of chill and laid back Doflamingo is, even though, like, the past 10 years of his plans are all, everything's just going south. He's not, he's chill about it. It's whatever. But, you laugh at Pica, you're done. So
yeah,
I feel like we're getting a lot of really interesting characterization with Doflamingo, and we're going to get a little bit more.
Yeah, it's inbound. Because in the meantime, Senor Pink and the others that were there, they're fighting Frankie, are just like, all right, well, we don't have to worry about the Navy, so clever of them for that. But we should probably find Frankie since he's scampered off, and then we go to Frankie, who's like, there's the Smile Factory. So I just have to just fire my laser at it. So let's do that. And
yeah,
as he's heading there, here comes Luffy.
Yes, right into enemy territory,
right amongst the three of them, and I love that. So they land. Luffy's still holding Law. Zora's on his own, and they're surrounded by Navy men and Doflamingo's men, and then these officers.
Yeah, I love how done Law is. He's like, I'm killing you first if these cuffs ever come off.
I love that. That was so good.
There's so many good Law scenes.
Mm-hmm. And Zora's basically like, I'm pretty sure wherever we would have landed would be trouble. So this entire country's our enemy. We got to go. It's like, no, not that way. It's like, well, not that way either. So got two people that cannot get lost. But yep, they found the convicts, and all of a sudden Luffy gets immediately grabbed by Senor Pink. He's like, he's this weird guy. And then
it's the same combo that got Frankie.
Mm-hmm. Here comes Mach Vice with he's a super weight man with 10-ton Vice or Vice. I can't remember which way it was.
Oh, I looked it up. It's Vice. Mach
Vice. 10-ton Vice. Yeah. Which I want to know his specific devil fruit that he's able to do that, because boy, is that very similar to Miss Valentine.
Yeah, I feel like we get a lot of kind of similar-ish devil fruits here and there. I got confused. There's something way later that is very similar to what Pica can do, and so I was like, which one's stone and which one's the other one? Oh, okay, yeah, got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Luffy's able to avoid Vice. But here, Vice got his feet, so Luffy's trapped there. And then, oh gosh, I'm blanking on the high-heeled kid's
Dellinger.
name. Dellinger is getting ready to kick him.
I forgot to.
In the face, and then Zora just kicks him in the behind.
Yep, which makes Dellinger kick Mach Vice in the behind.
Which, hurts him because it's so heavy, and hurts Vice because, well, it's a kick by high heels. So Luffy's free. It's like, we got to get out of here. So, like, should I attack normally? It's like, no, I'll knock him out with hockey. And that's when Fujitora shows up. Yep. Oh no!
Things going for. I kind of liked where it was like oh god, are they gonna have to fight these other guys, Mach Vice and Senor Pink and stuff. It's like, no, okay, we're moving on. Oh god, it's Fujitora.
It's almost worse. In fact, it is worse.
It is very much worse. And of course, meanwhile, poor Usopp is trying to hide in the Coliseum, and they're just like, get him!
And they have Robin has a plan, is they can get out, use the outer rim of the Coliseum to get to the Royal Plateau, where they can rejoin where Viola and King Riku are hanging out. So thanks to Bartolomeo, he's going to be helping him do that. And, well, Sabo's already gone off on his own.
Yep, fair enough. I love that we've already, like, just from offside dialogue here and there, we already kind of get the dynamic between Heck, Sabo, and Koala. Which, again, it's very Luffy-like.
Yeah, Sabo definitely acts like Luffy, in fact, how he just goes off on his own.
Yep.
But no, all of a sudden, as all this fighting's going down, all these meetings are happening, we get visuals that are almost straight out of Inception, with the way the city curves in on itself. Different reasoning behind it. Yeah. Because Pica uses all that stone to make a massive version of himself, just emerging out of Flower Hill. And oh no, that's not good. Of course, Luffy immediately laughs at him because he's saying, anyone who defies the family must I can't even do it, honestly. They must deal with me. And Luffy just immediately laughs, and it's like, oh, he's so silly. Which, as soon as they introduced that concept, I was like, oh, Luffy's gonna laugh at him.
Laugh at him. Yeah, immediately. I'm glad, same chapter. Just yep. It's such a classic Oda gag too. I feel like if you subscribe to our Patreon, you can listen to us talk about some of the early One Piece content, like the various forms of Romance Dawn, where I feel like this kind of joke, good plug. I feel like this kind of joke is very, very common, and I feel like it's been a while in the main story since we've had one where we have somebody with a very specific hang up, and then Luffy's just like, ah.
It's really good.
Yeah, never gets old.
Nope. Fun way to end that chapter, and we do have an SBS. Not a whole lot to say about it. Just how one of the readers noticed a character from the modern days that were kind of remembered. It's like, I feel like I have seen him before. Recognizing when King Riku used the Ricky persona the first time, actually is in the stands, not as the person he thought it was, but in the background. So he was there.
Ah.
And
these people.
Yeah, just crazy.
I would never know. I would never see it.
Never even think about it. Just it's that extra little bit of dialogue that just makes it happen. But let's get to it. Chapter 748, Repaying the Debt. Never thought we'd see Heracles as one of the cover stories. Not cover stories,
but acting all cool on a horse, and even the horse looks, I don't know, very almost kind of like classic, like 60s anime style almost.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah, it's got a very Tezuka look to it.
Mm-hmm. It's just a fun one. Again, I just like
seeing
it's
this
fun.
Highlight. Again, you never. I feel like we're now in this era where it's just like we will get literally anybody. we got Law, we got Broda and Mihawk, and we got Heracles. Yeah, sure, why not?
Let's do it. I'm down. I am totally down.
Yeah.
But Luffy, we pick up and Luffy's still laughing at Pica, which just draws his attention. And even Doflamingo's men is like, no, shut up. If he starts rampaging in that gigantic form, and well, here comes the giant fist.
Yeah, exactly. And I love how even you're seeing even like Mach-Vice just like, all right, there's an entire town coming down on us. Yeah, because of course, Fujitora can't see. He's like, I got a feeling there's a trouble afoot.
Yes, the Stone Giant's coming in. Zora's like, Luffy, you shouldn't tease your opponents just because it's laughing
even
at the
Zoro can't do it. It's so good.
Oh gosh, I don't know if they mentioned it here. Like I missed the dialogue for it, but they say that Pica in this form is even bigger than Oars.
Oh, I think that's a little bit later.
Okay. But yeah, yes. We see that's what I'm saying about this town getting just messed up, where you see him punching because he's punching the town with the town.
Exactly.
In fist form.
I feel like, again, you just kind of have to stop to appreciate just like art-wise, like this is ridiculous. There's so much detail going on in these spreads, and it is just what an insane concept for a character that like Oda just takes to its logical extreme. Like, yeah, I'm gonna here's half of Dressrosa on this guy's arm now. It's great. I can only
stop
imagine
to think about it and look at it, just like, good God, Oda.
Yeah, I can only imagine that the poor animators, the anime. This was probably like 30 seconds of slideshows. 30 seconds might be a bit generous. Might be more like 2 or 3 minutes.
It's been fascinating to learn that a lot of people, if they stopped watching the One Piece anime, it was at Dressrosa. Because
yeah, it's probably where the quality issues. Well, because I feel like it's just like it's where I feel like there's a lot of really difficult to animate stuff once things really get going, and it's where the manga started taking weekly breaks. So this is around the part where they start adapting like half a chapter, 2/3 of a chapter per episode, and just it gets. I feel like all the anime's worst habits get the most bad here,
and you could see them the scope of One Piece constraining against the budget even as far back as Alabasta
exactly.
with their massive crowd. So this is even further than that. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a fundamentally different thing than kind of the smaller scope like Fishman. I mean, Fishman Island is even that it doesn't have to worry about this big scale stuff is still a deeply ugly arc of the anime. And similarly, like Punk Hazard doesn't have to do with anything. Like they got Smiley or whatever, but like there's nothing quite like the scale of what is happening here. And I can my heart goes out.
Seriously.
I can understand why watching this would be a little bit rough, but hey, the manga version's great. So.
Yeah, it's really good. So
yeah.
But we see that Luffy and Zoro survived. They just got sent up flying a ways because of the just aftershock of that punch, and this is where we get he's bigger than Oars, and Zoro's still trying to figure out like, okay, how do I beat him? I just need to.
What it sounds like, and I guess because we'll see this in a little bit, but it's like it feels like Zoro is like he's getting there. He's like, I can beat him. I just have to get to him.
Mm-hmm. I'm learning about him. I just need to pull it together.
Yeah.
But then here comes Cavendish. He's like, it's Straw Hat and Pirate Hunter Zoro, as well as Traffle. I love how it just Garlol, and he immediately swings down his sword to try to kill him. Give me back my popularity.
And then Luffy's like, what's the big idea? He's on my crew now.
And Law just immediately chips in, no, I'm not. I'm not on your crew.
I love Luffy. His idea of a pirate alliance is gone.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're on my crew now. Sorry.
And we get the beginning of this where, I'm forgetting my grudge against you, Straw Hat, because of, the great god Usopp saved my life. I'll never forget the sight of his glorious courage, which I never actually saw. But, oh yeah, here, Law, here's your hat. I found it outside the Coliseum. Stick your head out and I'll give it to you. And he has a sword waiting nearby.
It's just like, right to cut it off. Oh man, this is great. God, and the interactions just keep getting better and better, because now we're getting introduced here to this concept where Cavendish is like, I've decided to repay my debt by seizing Doflamingo's head for you. And, Luffy's like, no, that's my job. I have to pay back Rebecca for buying me lunch. Law's like, this all started over food.
Yes, this is Luffy. He will topple governments if you feed him and be his friend.
Yes. And now we get, I love this gag so much, where it's like basically everybody at the tournament is like, no, I'm going to take down Doflamingo. And we have
as thanks to you. This is me repaying my debt. I'm going to take him down. And Luffy just was like, no, I'm going to do it. Also, I like the Dagama hat, because Dagama was really like hearing all that money being offered up for the heads of the 12, and but he had to be forced by the king, Elizabello, to no. But yeah, here they are: Elizabello, Abdullah Ajit, Orlumbus, Ideo, Suleiman, Blue Gilly, all of them wanting to take the head as payback. And it's just like, no.
I love Zoro's like, okay, how about this? You guys watch our backs while we absolutely not. Doflamingo's mine, just all in unison. I'm just like, okay, all right.
And that's when they see a lot of the other men who were with them down in the underground trying to claim the bounties. And they're like, oh, no, you guys are ungrateful swine. And they just start immediately bopping all the unnamed people down here.
It looks like to me, like we have ourselves a little bit of an army.
A little bit.
Me, but
all these named gladiators are now with Luffy, which I love. That turnaround for how the like what started out as, hey, these are notable names that might give you trouble in the tournament, to, hey, these are notable names that could help you out in this fight. That's a nice
absolutely
shift.
Yeah. It's sort of, the tournament kind of had a second purpose, narratively speaking, which is just really cool. And of course, we can't forget Luffy. He sees Moosey, who's also
back.
freed.
How can you not love Moosey?
Absolutely, which, you know, gives Luffy a bad idea.
And as they're trying to find their bodies to see if they were taken out or they got knocked further away, Pica's still guarding Flower Hill, and all of a sudden, in the billowing smoke, they see a silhouette. I mean, Bullouette. As here comes Moosey with a Straw Hat riding him, and all the gladiators.
Yeah, we're just a fantastic spread, and they're all. It's basically it's like a race. Like, who's gonna get to Doflamingo first? We all want his head.
Pretty much. And Luffy's riding on Moosey with Abdullah and Jeet, while Luffy Zoro's riding on top as well, and everybody else is just sort of chasing up behind. Cavendish has his horse out. It's so good.
Yes.
And they're just like, how do you get so many allies? It's like, that what happened here. And I love this show of power from the others, where it's like Pica's trying to show what he's able to do. And here comes, oh God, there's too many characters I'm trying to keep track of.
This is Danchin Zhao and
yes.
Elizabello.
Yes. Danchin Zhao uses his drill dragon thanks to his new returned pointy head. And it's not fully recharged, but the light edition of the King Punch, still enough to help out. And they destroy Pica's left arm.
Which is great. Like, it makes you kind of feel like they can actually do this thing.
Yeah. They're not just all talk. They are definitely going to be of help. And the chapter ends with Pica sort of like what? And
yeah.
Luffy shouting out, "Stop following me!" Is like, no, you shut up, you stupid savior. And it's just
great.
It's the perfect level of chaos.
Absolutely. I know we kind of are seeing shades of earlier One Piece arcs into this. Well, it's still very much its own thing, but this section gives me so much Marineford vibes, and it is just the most unlikely of allies.
Yeah, it's so
Luffy
fun.
Leading the charge. It is so fun.
Luffy with his band of misfits once again.
Yep.
I love it. Except they're not really in sync this time, because they're all so desperate to help Luffy.
Yeah.
And I got a kick because of our love of Senor Pink that this entire SBS was dedicated to Senor Pink, where somebody calls in and says, "As a representative of all young women, I have a statement for you. No to Senor Pink. Just no." Is that what you're into, Oda? It's like, yes, all the way. Do not underestimate Senor Missy. It says here that you're 17 years old. Well, young people have a tendency to judge others on their looks, but you'll see very soon. You'll see what a real man is like. You'll understand what it means to be hard-boiled. Just you wait. And I love how, as I was gathering up the finding the clip of Senor Pink to have at the end for the previous episode, Amy, my partner, happened to be in the room, and she saw Senor Pink, and her immediate reaction was, "Ew, what is that?"
Yes, I forget if you had mentioned that or not, but I think you had mentioned like she would hate this character.
Yes.
And then turns out,
I was right.
She hates this character.
In fact, a lot of girls hate this character, it seems.
Well, one thing that Oda's not wrong about is that there's definitely more here than meets the eye, which Senior Pink is he's just the best.
He really is. I also, love this joke the reader sends in. It's like, so I was chowing down on a tomato next to a pool, and I used a nearby babe's swimsuit to wipe my mouth. What would happen? She'd fall in love with me, right? Okay, let's try it. I got arrested. Why? And it says here you're 13 now, so you gotta live another 3 decades and ooze coolness if you're gonna try to pull that move.
Maybe just don't try it at all.
Yeah, that's pretty much, very much so. Oh God, it's so good. It's such a dumb character that's so fun.
Oh man, I love that we're now in the thick of it, getting to see Doflamingo's crew really just be their weird, wacky selves.
It's the best. Oh, but yeah. Let's get into the next chapter, 749, Onward, Gallery of Rogues, and best cover of the set. Best cover. 100%. The Dawn dreaming of young Sabo, Luffy, and Ace, and it's just like, oh, that's so freaking cute.
Oh, it's gonna get me every time.
Yep. Man, Sabo grew into himself.
No, really. Sabo's hot. Like, he's just I feel like he grew up the best out of the 3.
Yeah, because Ace and Luffy pretty much still look like themselves. Sabo aged up.
yeah, he's a scrunkly little brat, and it is just like, no, I'm hot now. What are you gonna do about it?
Love it. But we get into it, and they destroyed his left arm, and it's crumbling, which means there's a lot of debris falling into the streets again. Oh no!
What did I just say about Dressrosa is going to be in shambles by the end of this? And it is already. Yeah, we destroyed half the town. Good job.
And basically, the next couple of pages are just, hey, remember these fighters from the tournament? Yeah, here's them just taking out Doflamingo's crew, no issue, just wiping out all these guys constantly, and they're just like, what is up with this group? And I like that you can have just sort of leave those guys in the background to take care of that stuff while we got to deal with Pica.
Yes, yeah, and I love they're trying to charge up for another King Punch, and Don Chinchao doing his thing, and Zoro was like, no, he's gonna just grow his arm back, don't bother. We got to figure out how his powers work exactly. So let's do this. And the other fist comes down that time. They don't stop it, and they got to figure out what the heck to do. Well, Luffy has an idea. he just rode on up on the arm, riding Musi along with Abdullah and Jeet. Yeah, well, if he doesn't notice at first, he's just gotta get off, weight him down. And then you see that Zoro's hanging out behind. I think it's Jeet. I don't know. He's just hanging out there. I don't remember which is which. Yeah. Can't let Zoro get lost. Yep. But they're just introducing themselves, and Luffy's like, I don't care. But Pica sees them, regrows his other arm. And I love the scale of this, where you see Luffy using his Gum Gum Grizzly Magnum from Pica's point of view, where you just had this tiny dot, and all of a sudden here comes the giant hockey-covered fists. And those giant fists are maybe half the size of Pica's face. And definitely smaller than Pica's fist, but still strong enough that it takes out the head of Pica, so... amazing. Just again, love that show of power from Luffy. And I love that, because Zoro's the one he's locked in. He's the one trying to pay attention, just like where's the real one? The head is stone right now. The part we're writing on is also only stone. There's his real body. And Zoro's just got that look of bloodlust on his face. It's the first time he showed us something that looks human. And I'm curious what made him come out here to fight him hand to hand rather than use the stone. Maybe the fact they were just destroying the stone constantly. That'd be I think best guess. I guess it's better aim, basically. Or if he tried to punch them again, it would just, it would break. He might not have quite the right aim. So it's like, screw it. We're just doing it. We're doing it directly. So he gets out this huge katana, and as soon as I saw the katana, I was like, yep, that's a Zoro fight. Yep, it's the Zoro fight now.
And hey, Bull, if you can't dodge, then stop. And like, no, keep running. And Luffy like picks up Moosey along with everybody else in order to jump over the sword and keep going.
It's a great maneuver. This whole sequence is just like straight out of like an action adventure movie.
I love it. And of course, Zoro stays behind because it's like, he blocks it, no issue. And Abdullah and Jude's like, oh, I can see why these people work with our god.
Yep.
With Usopp. And
yeah.
Pica's like, no, I have business with Straw Hats. Like, no. Our captain wants nothing to do with a pebble like you. You'll have to make do with me, Mr. Soprano singer.
Oh, there we go. I do think this is Zoro's fight for the arc. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, wow. I'm kind of surprised he only gets one fight. I mean, I guess everybody can. No, that is interesting. There's only one fight for him because the crew split in half, so we don't have as many to get fights. So
yeah, I guess
that makes me so curious how it's going to break down this time because we don't have like a character for every character to fight. So how's it gonna?
I feel like see, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I think this is the one, but like we're halfway done, so.
I'm excited for it. It's a good one. It's a good one for Zoro to get into. But the others see that of course the Pica giant stone Pica thing is halted now. So all the others are like, oh, we're not going to let them beat us to Doflamingo. Come on, let's go. We're going to climb up the plateau now ourselves. So let's go after them. And as Law is being dragged along by Luffy and they're running up with Moosey and doing all that stuff. And Law decides to start talking. It's like, okay, listen, Straw Hat. I understand that fighting is our only means of survival now. I've braced myself for this. The plan I brought to you was designed to crush Doflamingo in a longer, more roundabout way. But the truth is, I want to take him down myself. I lost the last time, but that won't happen again. Because 13 years ago, Doflamingo murdered someone that I loved. His name was Corazon. And he was once a supreme officer in the Doflamingo family. And that's interesting in and of itself because Doflamingo murdered a member of his family, specifically his younger brother. So apparently Doflamingo has no issue murdering blood family, but he is okay with failures and he protects his like found family. It's an interesting dynamic, but apparently his actual family was part of his found family. Okay, I'm very curious about Corazon.
It's a little curious, right? Because he's the way that he was like, all right, my mom died and I killed my dad, but it seems like the way that Corazon was, he was a supreme officer in the family, and I feel like potentially getting ahead of myself here, but I said Corazon is the Spanish word for heart, apparently. And Doflamingo did say, like, hey man, talking to Law, he's like, I left the heart seat open for you. So
and he is the heart pirate, so he's definitely living for this Corazon.
Yeah, he's got Corazon written on the back of his shirt.
Exactly. So that's a backstory waiting to happen.
And that I feel like there's sort of like your core connection that Law has to Doflamingo is that he was really, really close to his brother. So there's a little more going on here. Yeah,
I feel like we'll probably get Doflamingo's backstory through Law's backstory.
That I feel like is most likely, yes.
Yeah.
Now that you're sort of seeing how it's all kind of connected.
Yeah, very much so. So, final chapter for the set, 750 flashpoints, where we get our color spread, and you're right, it's very much calling back to the Summer War, because we got Luffy and Zoro, but then just other characters that are with them. Not the Straw Hats, just the gladiators that are joining up with them. And honestly, it's a pretty sick cover.
Yeah, I like that Cavendish is the only one on the couch in the foreground. With Luffy, Zoro, and Law. The rest are in the background. So he's important, sort of.
Kind of.
He wants to be important. He might have
his alter ego is going to show up at some point. You just know it.
Yeah, he's going to fall asleep again.
But we get into it, and the gladiators are running off. Pica's head fell off, and he stopped moving. So this is opportunity, and it's time for the Doflamingo family to try to hold them off that way, and they're not doing such a good job. So it comes down to our
Yep.
officers who's watching all this and being like, oh boy, they're still defying the young master. Okay, they're gonna have to break through Fujitori's Navy blockade, but they're waiting. Basically, there's like, okay, we'll take you on if you get here.
I just literally remembered, because this was bugging the heck out of me last week. We did not, or maybe the week before that, where we didn't remember the spiky haired guy's name.
Mm-hmm.
I think his name is Gladius, right?
Yes, Gladius.
Okay, yeah. I saw him and it literally just like clicked. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that we couldn't remember. So,
and yeah, this map from the side is unreal. Where
yes.
we have the fort. We have the levels leading up to Flower Hill. We have the scale of Pica attacking from that one side. Fortunately, the buildings facing the camera where we're looking at down.
They're fine.
They're still in good shape. So not all of
so we've destroyed a quarter of Dressrosa.
Yes, a quarter of Dressrosa. So better, I guess. But yeah, we can see that they're on, I guess, level 2. Machweiss, Gladius, Baby 5, Lauji, and Dellinger. Luffy and Law have successfully arrived on level 1. Zoro and Pica are fighting on the Pica statue. The Navy's down in the streets, along with Kuros and the Gladiators, who are still trying to make their way up as well. So they're all trying to get there. And yeah, we actually move on to Kuros at that point. They're like, please, Sir Kuros, just come quietly. We don't want to fight you. It's like, we don't want the money. We just, if we're going to die if we don't beat all of you, we have no choice but to seize the 12 convicts. And it's like, I don't blame you, but I'm not going to let you do it.
Yeah, you can kind of understand from the perspective of the average person, like, this is kind of their best shot, right? Like, yeah, we got to do this. So it's understandable, but unfortunate.
It's still amazing that Kuros is doing all this with one leg and nothing to
with
support
one leg, right?
Leg.
Yeah.
Like, good God.
And he's just kind of like, I don't blame you for your choice, but like that means I have to make even more haste. And he just starts zooming through the gunfire with his one leg.
Kuros has to be MVP of this arc. Like this,
I know, dude.
Like the new original character.
He's a boss. He's great.
He's
I mean,
awesome.
hey, he cut off fake Doflamingo's head, which wins a lot of points for me.
Very much so. But we then cut back over to the Royal Plateau where God Usopp's retinue has made it to the surface where Riku and Viola are waiting, going through the Colosseum. And they're just, and Bartolomeo's immediately like, I don't see Mr. Luffy no more. It's like, no, of course not. He doesn't stay in the same spot for more than 5 minutes.
He's so taken aback by that. Now that's freedom.
Sounds like the king of the pirates to me. It's so good. And basically they're catching up. It's like, what's with the stone monster? King Riku is like, why is the palace over there? Like,
they're all
what has
confused
happened
at this point. Yeah, I like all this. Meanwhile, you see that like some of the guys are like trying to climb up the wall like through the nets, and you're like, oh wait, that's Robin's devil fruit, and she just like yoink.
Yeah, it just gets rid of them all, and down they go.
Great.
Don't need to worry about
thinking.
But it's at that point that Viola finds the key to Law's cuffs. So she needs to get that to Luffy. Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dear.
I also love how nothing is said, but I love how Rebecca just immediately hugs Viola.
Yeah, it's cute. It's a nice. God, when you think about it, like that's a reunion.
Mm-hmm. And Riku's like, why are you helping them? Because she's like, I have to get it to them. It's like they're pirates, and this is probably the biggest meat to the bones of this set. It's like, yeah, they're lawless. They're lawless ruffians who will destroy this country's sham of peace. I put my hopes in them, Father. The world government gave the pirate Doflamingo his title and allowed him to rule, and look how terribly that has scarred us. I won't beg for help from that government and its navy just because they wave the flag of so-called justice. They can't hear the voices of the victims they created. The ears of the elites conveniently tune out the screams of anger coming from our country. At least there is blood running through the Straw Hats' words. There's a beating heart behind their actions, and man, Oda, just not politically relevant whatsoever.
Yeah, no,
Even
not at all.
Today, God, no. There's just nothing that resonates about that message at this point. No, God, no.
Yeah. And again, it feels like we've been talking about this a lot, about just like how much sort of the failures of like the systems that have established the world of One Piece are like coming to bear. We are feeling kind of the brunt of like we're dealing with a man who is taking advantage of all of the flaws in the system to do, unspeakable evils. And we are coming to terms with like, yes, and you understand why King Riku wouldn't trust, like pirates are the ones who took over this country in the first place, right? Like, so why would you trust them? And I think that's completely fair. But it is like, no, Viola judges the Straw Hats through their actions, and they're the only ones doing anything about this.
They're ruffians in the same manner as Kyros. And I think that's what helps get to. It's not said, but it's what you kind of like. He has that frame of reference for that, and it's. Oh boy, do I wade into this? I'm gonna wade into this.
Let's do it.
So, it's not hard to imagine the world government, or at least the Marines, as the police force of the world. That's essentially what they are. And yes, there are ones that help. There are ones that see this as their duty. We got Kobe is a fantastic example of that, who wants to uphold the peace and wants to do right and have it all set. But when you go further up the chain and the people start getting corrupted, all of a sudden it's the police force. More about maintaining the status quo, and that is exactly what's happening here with Dressrosa. Well, it's like, we gave him this power. It's the status quo. We need it. We're just going to let it go. We're just going to turn a blind eye to things that maybe aren't the best.
Yeah,
and that's where Fujitora is struggling as well. It's
crazy to think that like this is written in like 2014, maybe 2015 by the time this chapter came out, but like. We live in a much different world than we did, 10 to 11 years ago. And I feel like this sentiment, the sentiment about, governments and institutions of power that are like ultimately, feckless in the face of real danger. And that like, you really, you can't rely on these systems to save you after a certain point, and that, not to, and I feel like that's a tricky line, right? Because I don't think what Oda is saying here is like, yeah, baby, vigilante justice. Like, it's not like quite like that, but it is, just kind of about like doing the right thing in the face of,
who is actually helping you. That is,
exactly.
That's
there's a bit
really
of,
what it comes down to.
There's a bit of like, I don't want to quite say like class consciousness, but like coalition building and understanding kind of the limits of power.
And at the very base, even if again, this is just not Oda's attention whatsoever, at the very base, it goes down to the question of Luffy. It's like, are you good people or bad people? It's like, I don't know. I'll leave that up to you to judge. Where Luffy just doesn't concern himself, just does what he feel is right for himself, and people decide based on what he does. And that's exactly what Viola does. And that's exactly what Riku does, because he just has that memory of, I'm going to crush Doflamingo for you. Just don't leave my crew. So,
and you could see that as that is sort of like the turning point of like, no, and I God, that's what I love so much about it, is the way Luffy was like, I have to do this for Rebecca because she fed me.
Yes.
And that it is literally that simple. But like, that's kind of all of the motivation you need, if somebody that you want to protect is suffering, you've got to do everything in your power to set things right.
And Tata's
like
speak up for Usopp is like, this is who saved the toys. This is who saved us. We shed tears at his courage, and Luffy is his captain of our hero. We truly believe they are the hope for all Dressrosa, and we're going to believe in them to the end. And I think the other great thing about Usopp, who is starting to look better, not as not as damaged. He's definitely healing up.
He healed
quick.
up a little bit, cleaned up the blood.
Mm-hmm. The key thing there is, and I think I mentioned, is like Usopp told the truth before he saved them. Like he revealed that he separated himself by not lying to them, not continuing the whole idea of the hero. He became a hero through legit means in his own way. And you have to really analyze it, but I like how that relationship between Usopp and the Tontadas has evolved.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that they're like, this is Usoland, also known as God Usopp. Like they acknowledge his real name in a weird way. It's still his title. He's still God.
Yeah.
But they sort of understand what's happening here, right? That like, and even I guess because you're like the poor gullible Tontadas, are judging Usopp by his actions. They are seeing what he did for them. It is no longer about the tall tales and the fibs. It's look at what he did for us.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Again, the meaty part of this whole set. Good God.
Mm-hmm.
But as that's established, Rebecca, of course, is very much, for Luffy. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take the key and get it to. I love how she still calls him Lucy.
Yeah,
get it to Lucy. And Bartolomé is like, oh, you're going to visit Luffy? I'm going with you. I'm there. And Viola's like, no. You're you're one of the stars in this game. You can't be there. You'll be in danger. And she's like, no, I'll be fine. And that's when the Tatas who have power is like, oh no, we're gonna help her. We're gonna cross the rooftops. So we're gonna help her out. You guys take care of the factory. We're gonna rescue the Princess Mancherry and the others, which I can't wait to see this Mancherry, see what she's all about.
Right.
So there's the plan for this group where they're going to go ahead and, all right, Frankie has finally reached the Smile Factory.
And he's getting ready to just like, all right, time to blow this thing down. And he starts to fire out a radical beam. And here is the return of Senor Pink, who suplexes Frankie to deflect the beam
back towards Dressrosa, which gets wiped out quite a bit.
Yes.
And I love this established, like, oh boy, we get Frankie. We are definitely getting Frankie versus Senor Pink. Is like, oh, I am so ready for this fight. I also love the fact that there are no women anywhere near Senor Pink, but but he just says, "That's what a man does, boy." And just like with on his binky, it's like just out of nowhere, just a girl going, "Senor."
Yeah, I don't see any women in this shot or in this scene. I'm looking like, no, I don't see anybody else other than those two.
They're just there. It's so good. But we go to Dellinger, who's kind of surprised, like, oh, the gladiators are climbing up here. The Marines should have put a stop to them, but how did they get through? So they're all climbing up there to reach them and get up there. They're making their progress. And Luffy is using his Gatling to take him down. He's riding Musi. Things are coming up. It's getting heated up. Like things are going down, where it's basically a race to see who can get to Doflamingo first. Yep.
And then we see that Baby 5 notices like, oh, all the Navy forces are being held down, and we get this. We see Fujitora talking to somebody, and he's just like, I can't convince you to step aside and let us pass. And then you turn the page, and you just got Sabo standing in front of Fujitora with a whole mess of Marine corpses.
And a bunch of flames. It's like, it depends. I can't let anyone pass who intends harm to the Straw Hat Pirates or those who are helping them. And he's like, oh, is it the Revolutionary Army's job to support pirates? Yeah, that's right. As a revolutionary, I forbid you to pass. No, I take that back. As a brother. And whose brother might you be? It's just... Oh. Okay, I wasn't expecting Sabo versus Fujitora, but I am down for it.
Dude. I can't get over that shot of him holding his pipe and the pipe has fire coming out of it. Like
on both ends.
On both ends. Like it is just such the perfect like marriage of Sabo with Ace's powers. Like literally every time from here on out, if seeing adult Sabo do anything with Ace's powers, I'm like, yeah.
It's the brothers. It's the brothers looking after Luffy still.
Yep.
It's great.
It's so good. God, see, this is. I'm so glad Sabo's here. He just gets to do cool stuff like this.
For sure. Oh, it's so good. It's all so good. I love this arc.
Yeah.
It's
it's
such a shame the pacing was just destroyed in the anime, because this is amazing in the manga, and who knows week to week if it's as good, but in our format, I love it. That's all that matters to me.
This is perfect for this format, and it really. We say this like every week. Like, I'm really curious how the later arcs are going to read, because like I think the pacing is the biggest thing that I'm just like, this arc moves. This arc is dense, and there's
nothing has
like
stayed the same in any set of 5.
Yeah, it feels entirely different than Fishman Island and Punk Hazard. Like, it feels almost, not quite like out of an entirely different manga entirely, but it feels like it has very different priorities and a lot of priorities, and it's just like. And the crazy thing too is, knowing how long this arc is, and we're already starting to see that, like, we're seeing stuff that gets skipped. We're seeing kind of stuff, we're seeing kind of clashes and encounters that are kind of like, okay, Oda shows it for a panel and moves on. And you could kind of think like, you could imagine a world where this did actually get more screen time, but it didn't. And this arc is, again, we are halfway.
Yeah, it's better for it. That keeping that pace up. I don't need to see all those fights. I think we're getting just enough that it's like fine. Like I think it's honestly better this way, that we can just sort of imagine and just get the highlights and whatnot, because it's the story, it's the adventure that carries it through, and I am still getting as hyped as all get out.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so hype. It's so this arc has just been delivering on all spades. As far as reading the first half of it goes, like A+.
Yeah, for sure. We do have an SBS before we end things off fully, though, because people are curious. What is Sugar's real age? And we get to see what she'd actually look like if she was a proper age. She's 22, 2 years younger than Baby 5. And that looks like a typical Oda design. If you saw, I'm kind of glad she's a young age, honestly, because it makes her more unique.
More unique.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Then that basically means that if her physical age is frozen at 10 and she's 22, that means that she ate the devil fruit 2 years before Doflamingo took over Dressrosa.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, she actually was a kid when it first started. So that's fascinating that. But he also gives all the ages for all the other characters, and Violet's 29, and I did not expect Monet to be 30.
Right.
Looks our oldest is Lauji at 70, our youngest is Dellinger at 16. So
yep, fair enough.
Quite which means 10 years ago, Dellinger was in that flashback, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, and he looked younger for sure.
True.
He looked about as old as Sugar did, which is a little weird. I feel like
he's 6 at that point. Yeah. If he's 16 now, so
he definitely looked older than 6 in the flashback. But
he did. But he looks young here, so it's okay. Dellinger's a little weird, but we're just gonna go with it.
Yeah. I feel like we also didn't know that Doflamingo's 41, which. I mean, I feel like it's always fascinating that, like, obviously, like, One Piece characters really run the full range, but I feel like even sort of, like, the major villains, like, 41's up there, Well,
yeah.
I'm not going to call it old, but it's not young.
Yeah, it's an age you don't see often in...
For, like, a shonen manga, right?
Yeah, for shonen. I mean, there's a common Japanese thing where you hit 35 and you're like, old man.
You're old man. Yeah.
It's like, oh, no.
Yeah.
No,
Oda embraces it. Look, Lauji's 70, and he's out here just like a superhero.
Yeah. I like that Oda embraces it, so thank you. Someone is getting close to Doflamingo's age, thank you.
Yep. Old people could be cool, too.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, that's our set. And
what a set.
We're halfway done.
Yeah, we've been covering Dressrosa for about 3 months.
It's been a good time, and I can't wait to see how the rest goes. And the question, the funny thing is that I know there's 50-ish chapters left, But how much of that is wrap up and how much of that is action? That's the funny thing. I don't know when it actually ends.
Yeah. I don't have.
So,
I guess that's the weird part. Is again, what we're talking about earlier, right? Like, I kind of have a general idea of where things go, but maybe certainly not like the order. And there's probably some twists that I don't quite remember. And we still got to get, like, we got flashbacks to get through, right? Like, we gotta figure out what the heck is going on with Law and Doflamingo and his brother and stuff like that. Like, there is actually still a lot of story left to cover, and it's crazy to feel like, oh yeah, we're just getting started. Whereas, like, in most other One Piece arcs, this would be the end, right?
Yeah,
like,
we'd be getting close to, like, all right, time to pair off and see how this all goes down. But no, we got time. I think we're going to get a lot of Doflamingo beatdowns.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you think about it, this is basically about as long as, like, Water 7 and Enies Lobby combined, if it was taking place in the same location for so-and-so amount of chapters, which is just nuts. It's just nuts. This arc is crazy. And it is not even the longest arc in the series anymore. It's just like, Oda, oh my God.
Remember when an arc was 30 chapters at most?
Right? Yeah, wasn't Marineford like 30 chapters?
Something like that.
But
with that, I believe we've said all we've wanted to say about chapters 746 to 750 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube, or simply BitNerd on BlueSky. And Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I am Brandon Bovia on Twitter and BlueSky, talking about anime, manga, games, and my job, and yeah, just kind of doing more of that.
Absolutely. And if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derrick Bittner. That's DerrickBitner to listen to the next episode ad-free 3 days early, as well as patron-exclusive bonus episodes. And make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 751 to 755 of One Piece. So until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.
You sure that's what you want? Why don't you let me at them?
His voice.
Oh my God.